Cape has just released Arc 7 Chapter 90, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 89 summary. Anyways, let's begin. At the first apex, there was Arakia. At the second, it was Madeline. Mainly since there were flying dragons around that summit. As for Summit 3 and 4, the Guardians were unknown. Kafma was at Summit 5, and he had an equivalent power to the 9 Divine Generals. The soldiers watched the Imperial capital, gleaming as much information as possible, and relayed it to their leader. The rebel forces had more soldiers than the defenders, in a ratio of 2 to 1, so the attackers, in this case, had an advantage. Dicker Ottoman states that he didn't want to be on the attacker's side and be the one who takes down the Imperial capital. We see that he's annotating a battle map on his desk as his hair sways left and right. After all, Dicker Ottoman has sworn loyalty to Wallachia, but yet he is trying to destroy the royal capital of Wallachia for the sake of the empire. Dicker orders his soldiers to glean any information from the 4th and 3rd apex and relay any information back to him. The soldiers accept the order and move out. Even though the rebels have more forces, the rebels cannot work together effectively. They are all a mishmash of different groups, meaning that they want the glory to themselves, and some of them will charge forward. If you use the same numbers as in the Battle of Guaral, when you take the fortified city of Guaral, you would have needed 3 to 1 ratio of soldiers. In other words, you needed 3 times the amount of soldiers attacking to overtake the defenders. However, the rebels currently only had a ratio of 2 to 1. Furthermore, that doesn't even take into account the fact that the Imperial capital have the 5 apexes, the 5 Divine Generals that are currently defending, and plus there may even be more, considering there are 9 Divine Generals. Dicker discusses the location of the Divine Generals with Abel. It is likely that Arakia, Madeline, Mogoro to be present. Obart might not be present due to his injured arm, but that's a long shot. Groovy is away at the Kararagi border, so he may be absent, and Goz's whereabouts are unknown. We see that Goz has helped Abel escape from the Imperial capital, seemingly knowing that an imposter has taken the throne, and since he's disappeared, he hasn't arrived, so he may even be dead. We see that Goz is a great man, and even Dicker Ottoman would pick up a sword to fight on Goz's behalf. Medium then runs into the planning room where Abel and Dicker are talking about the Divine Generals and asks that she wants to fight too. However, Abel says to not add unknown variables and that they don't even know if Flop is in the capital. However, Medium says that Madeline was present, so that's a hint, considering Flop disappeared at the same time as Rem. Abel says that Flop is irrelevant to the war. However, Medium says that Flop is important and Abel should help his friends. Abel knows that trying to save Rem or Flop will add no strategic value to the war. Abel says that Medium can go, however her life will be lost in her current state considering she's a kid. Even Dicker Ottoman says that Medium should not go. However, Medium says that she will get in, despite Dicker trying to persuade her to not go. Abel inquires on what she means, and Medium says that the 3rd summit has dolls, and the 4th summit has a black shadow. Abel blinks and analyzes the information, and Medium is confused. Abel then asks who told Medium this information. Abel grabs Medium's arm and head and forces her to look into his eyes. As she goes to answer and says the name of the person, the scene changes. Otto meditates. Otto's blessing allows him to communicate with animals. A baby, for example, has no self-identity or consciousness, meaning that a child with the blessing wouldn't be able to even distinguish between human voices, animal sounds, the rain, the winds, etc. A baby with the blessing could hardly survive. However, due to Otto's loving environment, he did survive. The blessing of spirit speech allows Otto to build bonds with anyone, including animals. Is a connection to the world itself, insects, humans, fish. There was no reason for Otto to only have bonds with humans. He could have bonds with anyone. Most, if not all people with the blessing will die prematurely, as Otto knows it fully. The blessing is a cradle of hell where one is forced to listen to endless lullabies, lulling one to death. Otto focuses his attention, similar to how when you eavesdrop on interesting conversations. Otto can do this by modifying his blessing. He reached a level where none of the other people with the blessing could reach. As Otto modulated the settings, he makes the volume low so that his head isn't overtaken with the words and sounds from animals. However, Otto now turns the volume to the max and listens in to the voices. Otto knows that Garfiel and Emilia have the most difficult role in this fight, since they are combatants. Furthermore, Emilia cannot die. She is more important than Subaru and Rem. Everyone knew that they would retreat if it got too dangerous. Well, everyone knew that they had to retreat, except for Emilia. Otto wonders if Garfiel has realized that he has a cruel role to fulfill. A role where he could get hurt and damaged. As Otto listens, he hears a voice call him an idiot. This voice belongs to Petra. Petra hands Otto a handkerchief. We see that Otto's nose is bleeding, but he didn't notice it. Otto is a bit dazed, so Petra cleans up his nose, which started bleeding. Petra asks about his blessing, and Otto says that he usually doesn't do it like this, but it's an emergency, so he has to. Otto then says that he won't let Garfiel beat him. In other words, Otto wants to contribute to the camp, considering Garfiel is out there fighting and getting hurt. So Otto wants to put in the effort as well, so he doesn't lose. Anyways, Petra calls Otto an arse. Otto thinks that Petra is growing sharper every day, and she's really intelligent. Petra then holds out her hand and uses yang magic, which makes Otto's head feel better. Petra explains that this is what Roswell has been teaching her, but she isn't really good at it yet. With that, Petra offers to help Otto as they clasp hands, and Otto activates his blessing and once again enters the cradle of hell of noises. This time Petra is now alongside him. This time he didn't need to be alone. And with that, the chapter ends. So, interesting chapter. I kind of skipped a lot of the Otto and Petra conversation because it was kind of useless. But essentially Otto wants to ensure that he's contributing, because he feels like it's cruel that Garfield has to go out and fight and get hurt, and it's a cruel role to have. So Otto is pushing himself, and Petra can see through what Otto is doing. Petra can see that Otto's trying to live up to his expectations. So that's the reason why Petra calls him an arse, because she's it's not about bleeding. If you want to bleed, you have to bleed and get results, don't bleed selflessly. That sort of language. And Otto realizes that Petra is actually really smart. And yeah, so Petra offers to help Otto. I'm not sure what holding hands will do, or if Petra is going to be using yang magic to help Otto. I'm not really too sure. As for Medium's conversation with Abel, it seems like someone has told Medium who is on the third and fourth apex. So I'm assuming when the scene transition took place, it seems to imply that maybe Otto told Medium using his animals. I'm not too sure. Maybe it could be Goz, but I'm assuming next chapter we will find out. I'm not too sure what the dolls are. Maybe that could be Obart. And as for the Black Shadow, again, most people will say someone like Subaru, but I'm not too sure what the Black Shadow is. I guess we'll find out. Someone else can sort of let me know and tell me what they think it is. Anyways, thank you for watching.